Mutant genetics. Are they good, bad, and what should you do if you find them on your plant? What's going on? I hope you guys are well and warm, kicking it fly today, baby. We've got ourselves a wicked conversation in store, and I can't wait to get into it. But before I do, how about them Bruins, eh? Go Leafs, go! Guys, we're talking mutant genetics today, and I've got quite a vidya in store. Before I started diving into mutant genetics, I had no idea the world that hides around the expression of mutant plants. But let me tell you, mutant genetics offer a weird and wonderful experience to an organism, and our plant is no different. Many of these mutations are harmless to the plant and can offer some wicked visuals that you otherwise wouldn't see in our plant. And today, I want to talk about it.
Yo, if you're searching for AC Infinity gear and you're on Amazon, you can now use promo code PIGEONS420AC to save yourself a few dollars off on checkout and to help support the show. AC Infinity's got everything you need in the garden when it comes to growing an incredible plant. And don't hesitate to use the promo code PIGEONS420AC on Amazon to help yourself get some quality gear. I'm actually growing a small girl in their propagation tent right now. Go check it over on Instagram at Pigeons420. And if you want to follow AC Infinity, check them out at AC Infinity over on Instagram. Now, back to the vidya.
Genetic mutations are a common frequency within our realm of life. It happens when cells reproduce, genetic traits are passed from organism to organism, or two organisms can create an entirely new mutant genetic. Often some genetics don't even go noticed. In humans, you can have a dominant blue or brown-eyed genetic mixed with a blue or brown-eyed genetic, and the brown eyes would generally dominate because of their allele dominant traits. The genetic makeup is a genotype, and the genetic expression is the phenotype. In terms of our plant, many of them are carrying a genetic code that has mutations within it. However, many of them won't express it. But every now and again, you'll have the recessive alleles, they'll become dominant, and they'll result in a mutant phenotype. Some of the most common mutations that we are familiar with are stuff like duckfoot. Duckfoot is so popular that humans eventually bred it into the plant and took advantage of it. And there are a number of banks today that offer duckfoot genetics. I'm sure you've heard of something like the freak show, which is like a fern-style mutation. This is a mutation that people have idolized or revered and have bred them into the genetic lineup and have isolated those expressions to mimic that mutation every single time you grow the genetic. Other genetic mutations you may be familiar with are the two-toned leaves. You've seen where a leaf right down the middle has got like a yellowy white color to it, while the other side of the leaf is colored green, a darker green. This happens quite often, two-toned leaf mutation. Another one is albinism or variegation. This is the one where the bud itself becomes white. This can be mistaken as either bleaching from the light or even possible mold, but is a genetic mutation that is found within the flowers of our plant. One of the most common mutations people are familiar with are foxtails. Foxtails are a mutation. They are not something that are expressed regularly in most flowers. However, can become identified through things like stress and heat. Now, foxtails are a sensitive subject to some. I know a lot of growers that actually wait for a plant to foxtail before they look to harvest it. Foxtailing can be something that's either good or bad and can have a direct effect on the product, but is often overlooked for massive yields. One of the more familiar mutations that we've all seen is the polyploid. Polyploid is where two bud sites will kind of produce out of a single bud site. Might think, oh, double the herb. However, some have argued that this does pass off negative attributes to the plant as it's doubling its work effort to produce a similar amount of bud. Now, polyploids is not a genetic that will survive from plant to plant, and in fact, doesn't seem to survive genetic crossings either. Polyploids is a Polyploids is one of the more familiar mutations to your plants. Essentially, you're getting 2 bud sites for the price of 1. This is a mutation that can't be replicated. It doesn't survive genetic crosses. So, depending on what you're looking for, if you get a polyploid, just grow it out and see what happens. There are a number of mutations that will affect portions of the plant, but there are mutations that will affect the entirety of the plant, changing the shape of this plant altogether, whether it's got 1 leaf, 3 leaves rather than the 5 leaves. These are things that you generally won't expect. I've even seen 1 seed produce 2 seedlings coming out of the single hole. Again, kind of a shock, but there are a number of different forms of mutations, whether it's 2 seedlings genetics, the auto self-topping genetics, you've got your fern-style genetics, you've got your white genetics, the albino genetics. Mutations are fantastic. I actually reached out to Terpes Mutant Genetics, which is a distributor that distributes mutant genetics. They focus on mutant genetics. They've become something revered within the community, and Terpes Mutant Genetics have isolated a lot of these mutations and have exploited them for sale. And it's quite awesome to see what kind of product they can get. Terpes Mutant Genetic. I encourage you to go check them out on Instagram. They didn't ask me to send you, but I've been looking at mutant genetics over the last few months. And every single time I come back to Terpes Mutant Genetics on Instagram, and they've got a ton of different ones. So go and check them out. Let them know I sent you. Also, I asked Terpes Mutant Genetics, why would anybody grow mutant genetics? And his response was this: it offers a unique experience. It stands for diversity and exclusivity and brings excitement into an increasingly homogeneous environment, into which I totally agree. What great visuals, what great opportunity, and why not exploit this plant to see what capabilities it is full of? I love the idea that we're taking this plant, exploiting it, and trying to revere it and bring it into this new realm of acceptability, and I'm all for it. So, shout out to Terpes Mutant Genetics. Shout out to you guys for watching this video, because I appreciate you. That it is a wild world of mutant genetics out there, and I think if you dive into it, you are going to be surprised at the things that you find. That's all the time I have today, guys. I appreciate you watching. Much love. And don't forget, you can check out some Stash Blend over on StashBlend.com. Get yourself a premium plant additive where all you need to add is the NPK. Stash Blend's got everything else. Go to StashBlend.com. Check it out today. Order yourself some, and you can use promo code THESTASH to save a few dollars off at checkout. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your face. Stay medicated. We'll see you soon.